Hey, what's up? Back for another interview. My name's Chris Luecke, host of Manufacturing Happy Hour. I'm joined by Jake Hall, the manufacturing millennial, and we're here to interview John Ross, Vice President of North America Sales from PhD. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you.
And my first question, we really want to get to know you first. Your background, how did you get into this industry, and what led you to PhD?
Okay, a great question. You know, when I started 28 plus years ago, I came from the medical industry where we did automation, very simple automation back in the day in medical machines, and it was a lot of cylinder, like a lot of linear, and that's how I came to know PhD. So from that, I basically went to PhD, and I've been there, like I said, 28 plus years now. When I first went there, I did a lot of application works for PhD. We bridged that over to territory management, because that's kind of my background. And then from that, we broke into what we refer to as a segment manager, and that was, we split the markets up, those who had common processes that we could basically take and then spread that out throughout the network. And then the rest of the time, it's really been in management at PhD.
Awesome. So when we look at PhD, you guys make actuators. You make a ton of actuators, and you know, all different applications, from clamping to motion to gripping to end of arm tooling, rotating. I mean, the list goes on. What excites you most about actuators these days? I mean, like, what's getting you like, we are doing cool stuff in automation?
Great question. I think I would start by just saying, you know, when I started, there was a lot of component sales, and I would say we do very, very little of that now. You know, we're into more of a solution sale. I don't want to call it, you know, you hear the word turnkey or out of the box. You got to be careful with that terminology. But I would just say it's more solution selling. So when we go into a customer, we're really trying to figure out what it is they require, what they need. Sometimes the want versus need thing comes in, because you know, you got a price versus cost scenario that breaks in there. But we really try to go down this road of doing a complete solution, or tying our multiple technologies together. And when I say multiple technology, we might need a pneumatic, you might need an electric, you know, it could be, you know, linear motor, it could be, you know, it could be one of those variations. And then probably where this really shines in our PhD and our culture is this whole thing about, you know, custom products. I think people, when they hear that term, there's a stigma about that. We look at that as an avenue to create the next standard product. Mm-hmm. So we do not, you know, we do the opposite. We don't look away from that. We want to be involved in that. And then, you know, one of our cores has always been, since I've been at PhD, is customer intimacy. I think all of these things lead into that culture that we set forth.
And I think what we've seen when we see that transition from pieces and parts to products and solutions, it's what really propels the industry forward. You know, it's one of those things where it's no longer just you found your niche and you're just creating parts for those niche, and then you don't care about anything else. It sounds like you guys are going out there and you're solving problems that other people haven't solved before.
Yeah, that's where we spend the majority of our time. You know, we basically sell through a distribution network. We're working hand in hand with them to get those initial solutions, but then really they're spreading that out to light customers, and we do a lot of what we call spreadable wins. So if we're going in and we're basically solving a problem on a specific machine, and you've already have that what I'll call total cost of ownership, and you're showing that you have avenues to take the risk out of the next customer, then we're taking that and trying to go global with that particular solution.
So you've talked a little bit about how, let's say, actuator projects, right? You're looking at more that solution route. You've gone more, you know, you're excited about custom solutions. I love this quote, by the way. You like custom solutions because you see that as the next standard solution. I'm curious about new applications you're getting into, new areas that you're in that maybe as many as 5 years ago or so you weren't in. So what's new and hot right now in that regard?
Well, yeah, that's interesting. A lot of medical. You know, for us, a lot of medical. You can't really refer to too many customers, but everything. You know, we used to do a lot of what I'll call medical device. You know, like a insulin pump, those types of things. Now we're into more of the cancer treatment type solutions. So that's really exciting because we're impacting the world. Okay. And we like to think about that a lot, you know, inside of the PhD walls, about what impact are we making globally. And so that would be one. I mean, even, you know, if you go to things like in stamping industry that we've been into years with our clamping type products, where now we have a group that does everything from the beginning of design through simulation, design, install, to make sure the presses are running there. So even those have been like advanced us forward. So trying to bundle that thing into more of a solution, back to that whole phrasing that we used earlier.
I'd love for you actually to dive into that more. You know, what makes an actuator beyond just an actuator, right? Because you can say we sell actuators, so do a lot of other companies out there, but I think there's something more, especially when it looks to, you have, how long have you been with PhD for now? Pretty much your
28 years.
Your entire career, right?
Yeah.
So you know what has kept you at PhD from not only a technology standpoint, but also a culture.
Yeah,
one.
It's definitely our people. You know, it's like people say that all the time, but our people really do make a difference. When we go into a customer, we have this scenario where we have to be careful, because if you broadcast an email at PhD, you got 20 people working on a problem, and you get 20 different answers. So you have to really rein that back and say, okay, who's the best qualified for this specific project, and making sure we're assigning that. I hope is that answering your question where you were trying to go there?
Yeah, it does. I would say from a culture side, but you know, can you go from a technology side as well? You know, where have you seen an actuator that was, I'm not dating you, but you know, 28 years ago would have put you back before 2000. You know, how has an actuator grown from when I would have been not even in kindergarten yet to...
No, great question.
Sorry, John. Not even in kindergarten yet to where we are today.
So let's use, I'm going to use a simple one, and then I'll kind of get a little bit wider from there. So let's say a gripper. You know, when I first got into this industry, if we were selling a gripper, basically we looked at the mechanical package, typically pneumatic, and that's kind of where we start and stopped. And now what the whole trend is moving towards, well, now I need to have fingers on that. I need to, what we call fingers connected to our jaws. You know, you might have an electric gripper. You might have what we call flexion, which is a manipulating finger. All right, so those are the things. When you say what's exciting, it's basically taking those new technologies of things that you used to have to piece together. And when I say that a bill of material could be 20 pieces, now it is one part number. And when you get a gripper, you take it out of a box, you put it to a robot, and then what you're doing from there forward, you're just doing programming. And that's probably the biggest advancement, if I said, from where I was, let's say 15, 20 years ago to where we are the last 5. And that is where that terminology with solution selling comes from. And it's not always just about the gripper. You know, you're going to get into things, well, now we need speed. Maybe we're doing an electric solution where we need the speed of the pneumatics, but typical electrics don't work. So you're looking more linear motor technology. You're basically challenging yourself, you're challenging your companies to basically roll these technologies together to create the best and fastest solution for the customer. And always what we're looking at is, hey, can we provide the customer a value proposition? Is that more parts per minute? Is that longer life actuators? We hope those two things link together. You get more moment, all the normal things there. I don't think we need to go into that so much, but those are the things that excite me, because you look back and you're saying what we used to be this big bill of material, it's a part number.
Yeah.
And customers now, they want to go online, they want to look at your site, and they want to go, hey, I want part number A, and they don't want a lot of risk associated with that. They're putting more and more of that back on us, and we've already, the company was already set up that way before I got here. All I've tried to do is execute that since my time here.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, you talked about bringing something that used to be 20 part numbers into one part number, and it got me thinking about everything that goes into a solution. So what does an event like Automate do for a company like PhD?
No, when people come to our booth, I think number one, you're showing them how wide you are as a company, both from a technology standpoint, a product standpoint, but then we have specific solutions in our booth. And when you come to the booth, what we're trying to do is say, look, we're not just a components provider, we're a solution. But we kind of talked about that earlier. Really, when the show, what it's doing for us is expanding our footprint, both within customers. We're able to show innovation all right, and then take that innovation and usually at a later time sit down with them and take that into more of a complete solution.
So one question. So I had some time being a machine designer, working in SolidWorks and CAD development and stuff like that. My question is, when it comes to mechanical engineers or designers putting your product on a machine, what are you doing to make it easy for them to deploy your solutions on a piece of equipment?
I can't take much credit for this, but I take advantage of this every day. So we have online tools. We have online sizing and everything from our grippers, slides, electrical products that basically you're just putting your sequence in there. From there, we're saying which actuator would fit your loading. Then you're taking that loading and then saying, obviously, speeds would be a part of that. Hey, if it's our motor package, we're putting that on. If not, we do what's known your motor your way. Basically, we give you all the motor data, you match those two things, and you bolt those up at your facilities. And then if you take that to the next level, this whole idea of Cartesian or seventh axis, those are all a piece or a part of that. And some of them end up going through our customs group like we talked about because they're just not, vanilla.
Yeah.
They get pretty spicy at times, and so we'll send them through our customs group. For the most part, the software package is there. That directs you over to the CAD system. The CAD system basically takes you to a quote, and there's really just what we call a 7-step process through our e-tools.
I like that, making applications spicy.
Yeah, we need some spice here. We end a lot of our conversations with this question. I should say this is one of the final questions as we wrap things up. What's your prediction, not just for actuators, but for the industry as a whole, the automation manufacturing industry as a whole, in the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, without going into the whole thing about what could happen in the economy, let's just stick with what we know, right? I would say that it's very bright for us. The amount of projects we're able to take on is much greater because of the background, the tools and things that we've talked about, and then having our distributor network able to gather that data, it just makes us be able to go much faster in that cycle each year. So I think that from my standpoint, it's very bright, and I think it's beyond 2 years. We're in this whole learning what all we can do with AI, what we can do with vision, how we're going to incorporate all these things together. And I see that is going to increase speed as well, all right? And, we could talk probably the next 3 weeks on AI alone, but if you haven't tried that, I would say go do that. But this show gives us a really good platform to show our new things and the new technologies that we're molding together for these solutions.
So one final question that we have, we talked a lot about, the evolution of actuators, the applications. Is there any topics that you wish we would have covered or that you kind of want to give a quick 60-second talk about that what you guys are doing or what you've been seeing, bringing to the market in a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Do I get to do that here? It's like a press, right?
What are you excited about? How's that?
So one of the things that we have going on at PhDs, there's been patents just put into place. We're not a big patent company. But what we see is this roadmap between pneumatic to electric components. And kind of set the stage a little bit there. When we go into a facility, everybody wants to go green. Everybody wants this, this new way of doing business. And what we are seeing is there's pneumatic actuators and electric actuators, correct? I mean, there's a blend of these and robotics in there as well. But what we're really seeing is that this being able to take a pneumatic product and electrify it in its existing condition. Yeah. And so we basically are just in the beginning steps of what we call a remote drive. It's air on demand, but it's all done electrically. And so that you can get your efficiencies way up in your 95+%, that of electric, using a pneumatic device. And so that'll be the big push this year from PhD. We've been working on this, I'm guessing about 2 years, and we're just lucky to have the several people on our team to go, what are the stepping stones to get from pneumatic to electric? And we see that transition, probably 5 years would be a low number, but we see that trend will continue.
So we'll mark that. We'll say Detroit 2025, when we're back here in 2 years, we're going to see how much of that has transformed in the industry.
It'll be like, how many of those did we sell?
Exactly, yeah. We'll figure something out.
Sounds like a good wrap-up question to me. John, it's been great having you on the show, and we'll be back here with more interviews very soon.
See you soon.
Thank you.